Good morning, my name's Gary, and today I'm going to show you how to replace a bad contactor. The first thing you do is get your required PPE and remove power from the unit. Power is disconnected. We'll put my lockout tag out on. Anytime now. There you go. And now I can remove my PPE. Today we're going to remove and replace a contactor. The reason I'm removing and replacing this is because of pitting on the contacts, which will cause chattering, which can relate to bad motor start, motor failure, shorting across. So let's get started.
Okay, so before we jump in, Gary, couple quick questions. So when did you discover that your contactor was bad?
On my startup PM.
Okay, and talk to me a little bit about how a contactor works.
Okay, my contactor, or all contactors, use a magnet to move your contacts in and out. All right, when you apply power to it, pulls the contacts in, get your high voltage running across. When you release the low voltage, it releases the contactor or pulls it out.
Okay.
The first thing I'm going to do is check to make sure my disconnect works and I have no voltage coming down. And as you can see, 0 volts across all sides of this contactor. All right, there's some things we need to know. These two wires are my 24 volt control wires. This is my line in, these two wires, and these two wires are my load.
Okay, now Gary, before we move off of that, so what we're looking at right now, this is actually a single phase operation contactor, correct?
Yeah, it is. It's for my condenser fan motors.
Okay.
To start removing our wires so we can disconnect this from the system. I remove my two control wires. Then I come in, remove my line. And if you need to, mark your wires so you know what goes where. I try to leave them in the position that they are at. You got one that's being a little stubborn here. There it went. All right, now I can remove my contactor. All my wires are removed. And as Rich will tell you, this is my favorite tool.
Your Billy Baroo.
You're my Billy Baroo, for anybody who's seen Caddyshack. And it's removed. Now, I'll see if I can show you the pitting. Yeah, we can. If you look down along the bottom there, you can see the pitting in the darkness of the contactor. And that's the reason we're changing this contactor out. The pitting will cause chattering, like I said.
Okay guys, I'm going to try and get in here pretty close so the camera will bring it into focus. And if you get out here in the full light, you can kind of see that pitting on the edge of that contactor right there. And that's the pitting that he was talking about.
Let me know when you're ready. Now I'm going to reinstall it. And I might get in your way a little bit, Rich.
Okay.
There's one. There's two. Now I'll reinstall my lines.
Now, Gary, I do notice that this one has quite a few more spades on the end of it.
And that really makes no difference. They're still going to pass power the same way through it.
Okay.
Now you want to make sure these are good and tight, because you don't want them chattering or moving either. Now connect my controls. And we're ready to roll. All right, since I'm already in this unit, I do want to go ahead and check all of my connections that I've already made. Because it's in the summer, we're up to 100 degrees here, and in the winter, we're down to below zero. And so expansion and contraction and vibrations can cause these screws. And see, did you see that one? That one was a little loose. All right, now I'll go to the rest of the contactors.
Well, a couple of those were loose, huh?
Yeah, a couple of them were, yeah.
This is really an important step, because when we do an RPM, I think sometimes we miss doing this, and this can cause, you know, a lot of heating, can cause contactors to fail, can cause motor failure, you know, so we want to really make sure we're doing that. That one looked a little loose down there, that one you just did too.
I'm really putting some torque on them though.
Okay.
I've got the boss here, you got to make it right, you know.
You're right anyway.
Now that one was a little loose. All right, now I've gone through, checked all my contactors, made sure they were all tight. And now I guess I'm ready to run and check out the work I've done. Now that we've changed our contactor, I've installed a zebra stat with the power off, and now I'm going to remove my lockout tag out, and I'm going to apply power. As you notice, I am wearing the proper PPE for the job. All right, the zebra stat is just a little control box, and I start by kicking the fan on. And then I'll kick it into cool one. That is my contactor. And if we look, my condenser fan motor is now running.
And the contactor didn't make any noise.
No chattering, no noise.
Right.
I'm going to say this one's good to go. The nice thing of now that we've got that done and we know it works, let's take a look at the zebra, Scott. I can control all of the systems without going back in. I have Cool 2 here I can kick on, and I have a 5-minute delay on that. I can also, on the R valve, I've got that hooked up to the dampers. I can check my dampers. When you hook up heat 1 and heat 2, you can also check them. And they all work through the ETM damper module.
And I noticed that the wires colors are labeled as to what wire you should apply the jumpers to.
Yeah, and if you look in the box, right down here at the bottom, it shows you white, gray, that's heat 1 is white, heat 2 is gray, Cool 1 is yellow, Cool 2 is violet, your R valve, which I use for the damper, is orange, and your fan is green.
Pretty cool. Pretty nice tool, Gary. So you say that costs, this is a new something, so something we're going to have to look at. I think it's a handy tool. We may look at getting it because it is a nice way to be able to jump out the units for checking delta and testing the functionality.
And you never have to put your hands back in the unit.
So yeah, so I think it's a great tool. So all right, well thanks Gary, I appreciate that, and thanks for your help in trying to do this video on the contactor and showing us how to walk through tightening up the lugs on the unit and making sure everything was good and snug.